What's good, everyone? This your main correspondent, Alan Taylor, and I'm back in the broadcast room. And this is where we at now. So clearly you see the title of the broadcast. Apparently in Kentucky, the divorce rates are starting to basically go down. Now, why is this happening here? So apparently since 2018, Kentucky has, implemented this, law about 50-50 custody straight out the gate when divorce is happening for the children in families, period, unless there's some type of super egregious thing and it has to be actually proven and documented that this bit, it's been so much egregious things going on, not to get the 50-50. But this is the thing here. This is starting to come to light, and it's a huge, debate and things basically about this situation, which, Kentucky started, and this could possibly spread out throughout the United States out here. Listen, look.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
This is where we at now. So we're going to dive off into this and see what's actually going on in Kentucky and the reason why the marriages seem to be, staying together more than the divorce rates. Let's go here now. Quarters, nickels, and dimes, people.
Talk to Jordan Reed, who's an author and beloved influencer in the mamasphere. She's the author of Ramshackle Glam, which tackles everything from pregnancy to parenting to anxiety. Also the big activity book for divorced people. Jordan, you've been following a really interesting story. A new divorce law in Kentucky has a lot of people talking about that. But before we jump into this new law, I know you can share with us about your own divorce experience and how you bring that to your social media presence, and also writing about that.
Yeah, so 7 years ago, when I started going through a divorce myself, I was writing about it in real time on my site, Ramshackle Glam. And so discussing everything from the reality of downsizing homes to the challenges associated with shared custody when you have been really the primary caregiver.
Talk to us about this new law. What are they doing in Kentucky?
So in Kentucky, the new legal default is to have 50-50 shared custody in cases of divorce or separation. And this seems to be a reaction to this perception that women tend to be favored in cases of custodial dispute, right? Largely because, as I said, they tend to be the ones who are the cruise directors, whether or not they're also in the workplace themselves. And that's a perception that, is it fair? I don't know, but is it accurate? Yes. In my experience, it is quite accurate for women in heterosexual partnerships.
So a lot of headlines are saying, Jordan, that this new law is keeping couples together. But why?
So if divorce rates are going down, I can think of a number of reasons why that would be a positive thing. Maybe there's increased access to mental health care. Maybe there's more support for parental leave or childcare. But in this present environment, that's just simply not the case. And my fear is that this is instead a reaction that is not going to benefit the children, because it's going to be prioritizing this sort of tidy wrap up to a situation over the nuances of a given reality.
Now, hold on here. This is ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? She's talking out the side of her neck.
You mentioned before.
And, listen, look, the children need both sides of the parents. Now, if there's nothing egregious or crazy domestic stuff going on, and you get what I'm saying, and that goes for both sides. And I'm sorry out here, people. Listen, look, we want to sit here and think that women are just all flowers and roses and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Statistics do show that women abuse children on this planet a lot more than men do. Look it up. It's there. This is serious here. And I think that, fathers should have, if you're going to get a divorce and things like that, it should be split custody. Those are the father's children just as much as the mother's. You know what I'm saying? And in today's society, we want to have this illusion out here that, of course, you know, men need to go out and work and stuff like that. Okay, if he's going out and working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, yeah, he may not have the time to spend with the child as much as the woman will have. And that's just logical fucking thinking. If he's working that much to pay the bills and make sure that the family's taken care of. And see, this is the thought process that's being, you know, set to the side about the contribute that the man does if the bills and stuff have to be paid and the roof is over everybody's house and the food is in the fucking refrigerator. But no, you know, who cares about that until it's time to eat something, or you need clothes on your back, or you need gas in the car. But that's just frivolous shit. It doesn't matter because a man does that. But see, this is the point right here. And this is crazy. Yes, it needs to be automatically 50-50 because it takes two people to make these children. And at the end of the day, though, regardless of who spend more time with what child, if that's the case, then if that's the case, and we get to the part where it's a divorce, then automatically the father's going to have to spend more time with the child, stuff like that. If you under the same roof and the father is working 50, 60 hours a week, of course they're not spending a huge amount of time with the child, with the children, basically, because they're providing. My question here is, you know, do women want men that can provide, or they want this delusional thought process that men are supposed to be these super billionaires and at the same time, though, too, take the family to Disneyland every day? What the fuck? Like, it ain't gonna work that way.
Or the divorce law has historically favored women. Why do you think there's been this shift in this other direction in Kentucky?
To be honest, I think that, like I said, it's this reaction to this perception that women tend to be favored, but it's also just not taking into account that if the divorce rate is going down, it might very well be because women are feeling increasingly disenfranchised in this political environment. And there is a real danger that the divorce rate is going down because it's harder for women to leave.
How is that? It hasn't been harder for women to leave. And why? Well, let's not forget here. The reason why it hadn't been hard for women to leave, because at the end of the day, though, if the majority of the court system favor the women and they take the children as well, then yes, the man has to keep financially supporting that household like he's actually in the household, but he's not. And then once he's kicked out of the household, he actually has to find another place to live, other things like that, provide for himself as well, and still provide for a household that he's not a part of anymore. Men are tired of this one-way track that this train has been going, when we know that trains go all types of with it, back and forth and everything. Listen, look, and you know what I'm saying, she could sit there and talk out the side of her neck all day. But men are tired of being taken advantage of. You know what I'm saying? This looks like a whole panel of people that are on bullshit. This is crazy and highly disrespectful to men that are actually providing for their children and things like that, that may not be able to go to every single soccer game or every single basketball game or every single, you know, every single thing and stuff like that. When the mother's supposed to be a supportive wife, knowing that the father's actually doing best by the children, like she's trying to do best by the children, and be equal in the facts about what's really going on in the household. This is ridiculous out here.
So it's not that couples are suddenly finding bliss once again, necessarily.
You know, more power to them if they are, but that is not something that I think is happening. I think, you know, there are certain nuances that can be very difficult to spot in a custodial dispute case, like emotional abuse. Obviously, we know that this is just as devastating as physical abuse, but it's harder to see. There may be different realities, like women, you know, someone might have better access to childcare, someone might have a more accommodating employer, and all of those things, they matter. And my fear is that the rigidity of these laws is going to be favored over the thoughtfulness of these laws. And when we're talking about the emotional stability of children in an incredibly vulnerable situation, that matters.
This is wild right here. She's clearly talking out the side of her neck. This is wrong, that we're trying to keep fathers out of their children's lives. She's, talk about emotional abuse. At the end of the day, though, women are way more manipulative than men when it comes to emotional abuse. These are facts out here. This is crazy to me. Emotional abuse. Jesus Christ. Yeah, emotional abuse with you keeping his children away from him. This is crazy. Emotional abuse. We're going to keep diving because this is crazy to me. And at the same time, though, too, my thought process on what Kentucky has done, y'all finna find out because I'm finna talk about this shit on some real shit here. Let's go here now.
Divorces in Kentucky just collapsed by 25%. Not because couples suddenly found love again, but because the cash out game is over. For decades, divorce was treated like a jackpot. Mom walks away with the kids. Mom walks away with the check. And dad? He's reduced to a weekend visitor and a paycheck.
One state just nuked its divorce rates by doing one rare thing that the rest of America would never dare.
And there is a real danger that the divorce rate is going down because it's harder for women to leave.
If I have my child half the time, why am I paying full support? Like I'm not even around. I'm feeding them, clothing them, taking them to school, wiping their tears, just like she is. But somehow only I have to pay up. This system don't reward fatherhood. It punishes it.
Kentucky flipped the script. They became the first state in America to pass a law making 50-50 custody the default. And the moment that happened, something incredible and honestly terrifying for some people was exposed. When women realized they could no longer cash out through the courts, divorce filing dropped overnight. A full quarter fewer divorces in one state compared to just 18% nationwide. Men call it fairness. Women's group, they call it dangerous. And that clash right there between fairness and fear is why this story is exploding.
Right. And that's definitely the truth. And this is where we at now, because if this situation seems to be more applicable for everybody to win, both the mother and the father, and definitely the children, because children need both parents. It's the balance in life that makes things, run well. And we've been going so long in this country without a true balance, at least for the past 40 years of parents and households and stuff like that, is that, this is the reason why we have these children act crazy out here. You saw what happened at the Tennessee College, Black children are just running rampant, stupid, can't even conduct themselves well. You saw, you see the anarchy that's going on in society where children are being deleted at school, stuff like that. This is crazy out here when we don't have fathers in the household and we don't have true dominance and true maintain of, structure. Society is doomed for chaos, and this is crazy out here. Let's keep going here.
Did you know that equal shared parenting laws decrease divorce rates? Well, it's true, and Kentucky proved it. In 2018, Kentucky passed a 50-50 equal shared parenting law. And since then, divorce rates have slowly declined. 25% decline, to be exact. Now, I know what some of these crazy toxic women are out here going to say, well, that's because women are locked in their marriages. No, that's because instead of walking away and thinking that they can weaponize the family courts to take the kids and get a shit ton of money, women realize that that's no longer possible in the state of Kentucky. So they're staying. They're working on their marriage. They're going to marriage counseling, and they're making it work in the best interest of their families. But the divorce system, where there's no fault and where there's no 50-50, it's easy for a woman to walk away because she knows she's going to get the lion's share of the assets. She's probably going to get majority custody, and she's probably going to get child support. So what's keeping her there? If it's not the perfect situation and it's not Prince Charming like in the movies, she doesn't want to stay. Toxic women will choose their happiness over their family. Men every day will choose their family over their own happiness. And that's the big difference. But when you take away the options of that financial gain of child support and the guarantee of custody, women are choosing to stay. 50-50 equal shared parenting laws are not only in the best interest of children, I guess they're also in the best interest of marriages and the nuclear family.
Now, I have a concern with that. And my concern is that at the end of the day, though, if women en masse can be so easily seduced into, moving on because of a momentarily unhappiness, which, like she said, and like this lady here just said, you know what I'm saying, men sacrifice their happiness for their family and women sacrifice their family for the happiness. But I don't think that's necessarily the truth. I think it's not a sacrifice on men's side of their happiness. I think that families do make men happy. If he has a decent woman that actually has his back, and the children are well groomed and well educated, respectful, and things like that, I think a family can make a man very happy just as well as a woman. I don't think families that, I think a real family can make everybody happy, both men and women, if they actually, want such things and not having, hidden agendas and stuff like that, which, on most sides, it just is what it is. Most women do. But this is where we at here. And, we have to watch the individuals that, you are dating and trying to marry and stuff like that, because this is how it's going down out here. You know what I'm saying? And in today's society, most people do not respect the sanctity of, marriage and commitment and stuff like that, because everybody's looking for this false sense of happiness. Let's go here now.
There are reports coming out of Kentucky that the divorce rate has completely plummeted. 25%. It's gone down 25%. Like, that's significant. When the divorce rate nationally rests, I don't know, I think a little bit above 50%. To have it drop 25% in one state means to pay attention. It's a reason to pay attention. The only explanation there is for this is because Kentucky passed a law that all custody settlements start exactly 50-50 between the parents. In other words, Kentucky has removed the mother bias that exists across the board in this country when it comes to divorce and custody. As a result, the divorce rate has plummeted. That's interesting. It makes one wonder a bit, doesn't it? It makes one wonder if there is an incentive to get divorced, or a reward, a financial reward for getting divorced. And as soon as you get rid of that reward or that incentive, that's interesting. Every state needs to pass this law. It needs to be a nationwide thing. Kudos to the state of Kentucky for pioneering this badly needed and long overdue legislation.
Now, I understand everything he's saying. And at the same time, though, too, I would like to, give my congratulations to Kentucky in trying to, implement this situation and figure out if this will work. Now, apparently it's working to keep families together, but my thought process is on this, and, let's go here with me now, is that if this is the case, if women can be easily persuaded and have been for decades now, as we clearly see, and Kentucky has reversed this shit, and all of a sudden, these women have this love for marriage, and they're trying to work things out and stuff like that. Now, all of a sudden, they're trying to work things out. Can you really trust this bitch?
And what the French toast is there to think about?
Yes, I said it. Can you really trust her if all of a sudden the persuasion to actually divorce you and take your children and make you pay all this tremendous amounts of money outside of the household, while you actually have to still provide for yourself and still pay for this and that? Half the time, some of these women try to keep you away from your children. Some don't. It is what it is. But I'm just saying, though, if this is the case, how is the trust factor going to be there? Are you going to wake up in the morning and she's going to be putting bleach in your fucking coffee? Because the next step here is the life insurance policy. Ain't nobody talking about that now. Ain't nobody talking about that. The next step here it's gonna be okay. You know, these new age women are sitting around here. I'm still in these emotional crazy situations. I'm being emotionally abused and this and that, woo to woo, or you know, the next thing you know, she gonna be putting bleach in your coffee. Definitely if you got a life insurance policy. This is crazy out here, man. Y'all got to think this shit through. Because when you hem up individuals in a corner, they get very dangerous. You know, any animal, and humans have a certain, you know, animal aspect to us as well. And when you hem people up in a corner and stuff like that, they get very dangerous. And these are just the facts out here. Sorry, but this is the truth. It's crazy, but it's real. Let's go here now.
Does anyone else find it funny or even a little strange that the second Kentucky added laws for, you know, equality and child support and custody cases during divorce, the suddenly divorce rates dropped 25%? It's almost like a lot of these women were only filing for divorce because they knew that they were going to win no matter what the circumstances were, right? Like, you could literally be a cheating tramp that has kids with other men and you're still going to get half. Not anymore. Now it's like, all right, we got to look at the case and see who's actually better for the kids, who can, you know, has a place to provide for them and can actually, you know, give them a stable environment. Not, okay, well, you got a pussy, so you get the kids. And well, since the man works, he's going to pay for it. That's not how that works anymore. And I just think it's funny that the second they enact this, the rates drop. It's almost like if women can't have their life subsidized by their ex, they're more willing to try to make things work. And don't be like, but women are staying in abusive relationships. 71% of abuse isn't unilateral, meaning at least 7 out of 10 victims simply lost the fight they started. Not trying to cheapen what real victims go through, just saying that most of you aren't that. And rare cases don't, you know, justify the whole. So you're still wrong. Does anyone?
Listen, look, and this is where we at right here. You know, like I said, though, you know, I do like what Kentucky's presenting. I do like, you know, that they've changed the laws, you know, back in 2018, and they've been working on this for so long to now it's hitting the fan, stuff like that, that marriage rates are starting to go down. I understand that. I like what they're presenting. But the dangerous part of this is, like I said, that if these women are feeling like they're in truly disrespectful relationships and stuff, or marriages and things like that, and they are, you know, wanting out, which, you know, most of the time the stats do show that most women do start a lot of craziness and stuff like that, you know. So, and these are the studies. This is what law enforcement is presenting to everybody in America. You know, once they actually get down to the brass tacks of how this situation broke off or started, you know, most of the women are starting a lot of shit in these households. And, you know, all this stuff is starting to come to light. And that's the reason why, if you don't understand that fact, that's the reason why you have a lot of court systems that are starting to change their minds on facts that women could be the best, you know, option for children. They're starting to change their minds. And we see that, you know what I'm saying, they're implementing laws and stuff like that slowly but surely to try to reverse these situations, or either definitely give equal playing ground to both parents. It is what it is, though, man. But I don't trust I like what Kentucky's trying to do, but I don't trust it, because let me tell you something. You know what I'm saying? When you back these desperate women into a corner, even if she's in a good marriage, whatever, if she feels like she's not happy, you know what I'm saying, one day, she's going to feel like she's backed into a corner to stay with this guy or whatever the fuck, and things like that to make things work out. And desperate people cause issues, and desperate people cause trauma. Desperate people cause a lot of disturbance. Desperate people are dangerous.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
I would not trust a woman that, you know what I'm saying, is all of a sudden, well, I decide now that I want to work on this marriage and stuff like that, when she really had the option to leave in the first place and gather all the resources that she could and go be free or whatever the fuck she wanted to do. But now all of a sudden the marriage rate, the divorce rates are plummeting because these women are all of a sudden they want to work things out and all this other type of shit. I wouldn't trust that bitch as long as the day is long. Hell no. I think that at the same time though too, while this could be a good thing on the other side too, because it's always two sides to a coin, I think this is also going to be a dangerous situation. Some of these women, you know what I'm saying, they'll take the other option. And I mentioned it in this broadcast. They'll take the other option of the life insurance policy. And you could bet the bank on that shit. But it is what it is, though. Shout out to all my subscribers. Mad love. Mad love to y'all. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. Make sure you ring that bell to be notified whenever I decide to post things. And like I always say,
and that, my friends, is the bottom line.
That, my friends, is the bottom line. This situation is crazy. Listen, look, telling y'all, listen, look, we're going to see. We're going to see. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these women say, these women in Kentucky will sit there and be like, well, yeah, I'm going to stay in, woo-to-woo. We're going to see how them life insurance policies going to work out. But it is what it is, though.